So it is cold as all get out, and I'm going to take myself to go see Saltburn. It's a movie that I remember watching the trailer for and being very intrigued, you know, the dark academia of it all. And it's a nice little Saturday night, and I want to do something. So we're going to go throw on a hoodie or something and go see this Saltburn and see what they're talking about, because it looks like classic crazy rich people story, and I am here for it. So yeah, if you've seen it and you liked it, you know, drop something in the comments and let me know. And if you see it and you hate it, drop something in the comments and let me know. But off to Saltburn we go. I should be in the bed, curled up under my covers, but it's, I'm really interested in this movie. The trailer looked real stylized. It looked kind of reminds me of The Invitation, and what's the Margot Robbie movie where she was about to marry this guy, but his family was like hunting her down, and if she survived the night she'd be okay or in the family or whatever. But that's kind of the feeling I get from this.
I don't wanna be crazy no more. Every time I think you're gonna walk out of my door, I start to.
All right, so I'm here early. So when I first saw this trailer, it's very stylized. It feels like I don't want to say a Wes Anderson, because that's not it, but it very much gives dark academia, and that's precisely the aesthetic genre that I'm like, I enjoy. Yes, it's a lot of rich, kooky white folks. That's what I think this movie is. But all in all, I'm excited to see it. I rewatched the trailer again a little bit earlier today just to get reacclimated with it, because I knew I wanted to see it, but this has not been on the top of my list. And every time that I've tried to come and see this movie in the last week, the times have been late at night. Like, they are not showing this movie earlier in the day, and I wonder why that is. So I'll kind of look into the stats of the movie or whatever, but I wonder if it's not a movie that feels like it will make a lot of money, or if it's a limited release. I'm going into this blind, sans everything I saw in the trailer. It has that look. I've said it already a bunch of times in this video, but it has that dark academia look. And homeboy from the Eternals, I believe, is in this. And then what's the guy? Where do I know the taller white guy from? We'll see. But all in all, this looks good. And it looks good because I don't know what the hell is going on. So what I gather, or what I assume, is the young guy who from Eternals, maybe he's from a poor background, he's at this rich, wealthy school, kind of links up with the taller guy who's wealthy, nice, kind-hearted dude, brings him back to Saltburn, which I believe is the family estate. And at first it seemed from the trailer like it was just a simple outsider, insider, Gatsby, wealth inequality type story, but I almost want to say there's hints of murder, but then not. And trailers are pieced together in a way to get you intrigued and get you wanting to know more, which they did for me, so it worked. But I want to say the mom character's you're never leaving Saltburn, and it feels very ominous, but I'm also thinking is this a misdirect? Is it her simply saying this maybe out of context with the way the trailer was formatted? I don't know, man. I'm excited for this because I don't know what the heck is going on. I'm blind to all of it. So we're gonna see what Saltburn is giving. And again, if y'all seen it already, let me know what your thoughts are, and if you have not, you're not interested, let me know that too, I guess. We're gonna get in here and see what Saltburn is on. So hey,
Jump to the conclusion you don't love me no more. Babe, give me something to work with. Can you just reassure me?
wasn't in love with him.
I'll end it before it starts. Call it protecting my heart. Hurt disguised as strength, but it self-sabotage my love. Self-sabotage my love, 'cause of my own pain. No one's coming to save you, baby girl. You got to save yourself. Hey, save you, baby girl. You got to save yourself.
I enjoyed that movie. I did. That movie is not what I thought it was going to be. It was, but it wasn't. And I'm one who can put together shit, and there were some things that distracted me that were good things that stopped. I was able to just experience the movie. My mind was not trying to figure things out. I was just there. And initial thoughts, I enjoyed this movie. Yeah.
Save yourself.
So I saw Saltburn. This was an interesting movie, and of course I have thoughts. Now, Saltburn, this is a 2023. It's listed as a black comedy. This was co-produced, directed, and written by Emerald Fennell. And in this movie, it is set in England in the mid 2000s, in 2006-ish. The film, 2000. It's 2 or 3, I don't know, whatever, 2000s. And it follows an Oxford University student who becomes obsessed with a wealthy fellow student within his college, who invites him to spend the summer at his eccentric family estate. That's a pretty good description. At first watch, initial thoughts, I enjoyed this movie. I think this is a movie that can very easily morph into a cult classic. I see all of the ingredients there. And side note, I'm a little, I don't want to say hurt, but I'm a little hurt that 2006 is a way back enough that it can be the past for a contemporary movie. So my heart is broken. So yeah, that's a pretty accurate description. So in this movie, it world premiered at the 50th Telluride Film Festival on August 31st of 2023, and was released in the United Kingdom on November 17, 2023, and in the United States with a limited theatrical release on that same day. Then has a wide release on November 22nd. This movie received, they say, generally positive reviews by critics at the 81st Golden Globe Awards. That being said, I mentioned before, but every time I attempted to watch this movie, it was only showing at 9+, like 9:15, 9:50. It was always 9 at night. And it was a little odd to me, but going through this and learning about the movie, I guess it makes a little bit more sense. But like when I saw this movie, it was 9:15. There was some delays, some pushback with the time, so we only started like 20 minutes late, but it was at 9:15 at night. Now, Saltburn had its world premiere at that 50th Telluride Festival. In the US, Saltburn was given a limited release on November 17th, and it will be heading to Amazon. And so I don't know when this video is going to go up, but either you can look forward to seeing it, or you can, at the time of this video's release, see it on Amazon Prime on the 22nd of December. So my initial thoughts, I enjoyed the movie. Now, it very much fit into that dark academia aesthetic, that dark academia storytelling that you would get from like Dead Poets Society, The Skulls, things like very dark, moody, Victorian English architecture, big, heavy structures, college, haves and have-nots, Ivy League adjacent type stuff. And that is right up my alley, regardless of who's in the film. Like, that's something that I enjoy. I think that this movie did a good job of like relaying that, and in a 2023, I don't know if the year truly matters, because I know this movie was set in 2006 and the summer of 2007. So that's contemporary enough. So it's good. So all in all, I did enjoy it. There were a lot of bonkers, off the wall stuff that happened, and now that I've had a little bit of time to sit with it, my mind has changed a bit. Now I still enjoy it. This movie is not without its faults, but I did enjoy the movie. Oliver is an interesting character, and I think Emerald did a good job at telling a story. Now, well, his story in particular, I do think she fell short towards the end, because a lot of it felt like it was built up to something that never actually happened, and that was a bit frustrating. But overall, I do think that this is a pretty good movie. There are some things that I would like to see. I'm conflicted, because there are some things where she's dropped the ball, I feel. But then it's also like, if you watch, for example, Mean Girls, which is a cult classic in and of itself, it's giving you comedy, it's giving you some social commentary, and you can make the argument, me being specifically Black in America, that it lacks on the representation side, not just in people in the movie, but like how you handle the ones that show up. The unfriendly Black hotties. Okay, Tina Fey, what the fuck are you trying to say? But I think the same thing can be said for this movie, where I can still enjoy it, but I can acknowledge some of the flaws in this movie. So if we're going to talk about flaws, let's do it with the characters. So there's a few key players. We have Oliver Quick, played by Barry Keoghan, who was Druig in Eternals. We have Felix. So Oliver is the lowly new guy, fish out of water, who is at Oxford, and he's not wealthy, and everyone else is just these hoity-toity, expensive trust fund babies, and he has a drug-addicted dad and an alcoholic mom. Then we have Felix, who is played by Jacob Elordi, and I think he was in, I think that's the guy from Euphoria, the bully, the like evil dude. Then we have Venetia, who is Felix's sister, played by Alison Oliver. We have Farley, who is their, and I'm going to get this wrong, I think, because in the movie, I think they made it very clear, but with all of the mess going on with getting the movie started and all the people and talking and whatnot, I think I kind of missed that Farley is mixed race, and he's Black and white, and he is Felix and Venetia's cousin. And I think that's right, but then throughout the movie I was like, wait, is this a baby that the father had? I don't know. So that, I am going to be honest, I that is unclear to me, but I know they said he was their cousin. Then we have the mother, Elsbeth, who's played by Rosamund Pike. Then we have the father, Sir James, played by Richard E. Grant. We have Pamela, who was hilarious, played by Carey Mulligan. And then Michael Garvey, who's played by Ewan Mitchell. He was pretty interesting too, a very odd, awkward Ron Weasley type. So getting right to the parts that I think were a little frustrating is Farley being the only Black character, Black adjacent character in the cast, and the way that he was set up as like the villain, the evil, the bad guy, which this isn't really intrinsically a bad thing, because whatever, you just got people who don't like other people. So I'm still kind of toying with my full thoughts on this, but I do know race was brought up because Sir James, it was mentioned that he had spent money on Farley to go to all these different schools. Like his mom was in America, and then I think she was poor, destitute, something, I don't know, that really details don't matter, but he needed money for something, and he confronted Felix about having to ask for money and about the race element and about how Felix didn't even know the name of his, and I forget the term they used, but I think it's like butler, who was a black guy. And I was like, addressing the race stuff, I feel like Emerald it was an attempt, but if we were really going to get into the race and how that maybe affected that character, I feel like it felt a bit rushed. It felt like, okay, let's throw this in here. But that being said, it still kind of fit with the story, but I was like, if you're gonna bring this up, there were so many other things you could have done. So I was like, I don't know how I feel about that. But the thing that has me being maybe a little bit less critical about the movie is that it is so off the wall, bonkers, exaggerated to the 9th degree. And I say that as somebody who is not of this extremely high, wealthy tax bracket that things focus in. I know nothing about this life. So perhaps this is just regular everyday life, but I think she did a good job at portraying what a lot of us may view as just crazy rich white folks. And so kudos to her for that. I think she still, despite the issues that I have with the movie, I think it's still an entertaining movie and it's given a lot. So for me, it felt like Black Chalk and If We Were Villains, which is two books that are dark academia classified. That's what this felt like, because the whole time that I was watching the movie, everything that Felix and Oliver did, and Venetia and everyone else, it felt like it was something that I've read before. Now Felix, the rich, wealthy, beautiful jock character, takes to Oliver because he is has a hole in his tire, in his bike tire, and Oliver rolls up, switches out bikes with him, and then that starts their friendship. And to be honest, the first 2 acts of this movie I think were really good. Even the 3rd act, to a certain extent, I thought was really good. And I'll say this, despite any critiques, I do feel like this movie allowed me to just be. Like, it wasn't a whole lot of analyzing going on. I was just accepting what the movie gave me because it was so new and so different. And I think that despite its faults, I think there's something there. And it also tapped into something very specific that I like. It felt almost like, and I can't really explain it, I will try to. It felt like Train Spotting. It felt like Hackers, not in the grungy, deviant subculture sort of way, but in the way it was presented. And I don't know if I could put it into words. If you understand, like if I said this and you heard it and you understood it, let me know if you have a better way of explaining that, because I can't truly, I'm still working through how to get that out. I saw a lot of mixed reviews about the movie and about people saying, oh, I didn't want it. And there's one particular scene where he drinks the bathwater, he being Oliver, of Felix, and people are like, oh, that's not for me. And that's all fine and good. But a lot of those moments were very shocking and very over the top. And it was almost like watching a soap opera, just exaggerated, like, I don't know, just over the moon. So, okay, getting back. So, Oliver is a kind of quirky, awkward guy. We got Felix, who's the jock, beautiful, everybody wants him, be his friend, to be his lover character. Then you have Venetia, which I'm assuming Venetia is older than Felix because she did not go to school with them. So I think she was out of college. I think she was 24 or 25. But the person who stole the show was the mother. Elsbeth, she had the best lines. She was this kind of almost borderline neurotic, over the top. Like when she saw Oliver for the first time, she was like, oh, he has beautiful eyes. And he was like, yeah, I told you he was beautiful or something. She's like, oh, but you're so kind, you can't trust anything you say. Then the next thing she says to Oliver is, I absolutely detest ugly things. They make me nauseous or something. Like, she was saying the most bonkers shit. Like in the theater, I bought my ticket. I was, sitting by myself, and there was these two younger white girls, and then these two black girls, and then like a whole row of other people. But the five of us, was cackling like this movie. But Elsbeth, she is the, like, if you're gonna watch this movie, whether you hate or love the ending or however it all plays out, Elsbeth is the one to watch. She hands down favorite. Can't say anything bad outside of the bad shit she does in the movie. She's very impressionable and led astray very easily, which is something that I thought was a bit odd, watching these wealthy people and the way that they were being able to be manipulated so easily. But whatever. Then we have Sir James, who's the father, played by Richard E. Grant. Now, he was good too. He, to me, I almost thought that he was very childlike, and I was thinking, like, is this a product of just being so exorbitantly wealthy that you don't have a care in the world, that you can be this aloof, oblivious caricature of a grown man? And that's what he was. And it wasn't frustrating, it was just a little odd. And then I thought, like, okay, is it the wealth that is allowing you to be this way, or is this just how you are? And also, is it the wealth that has me noticing this? And what does this look like with average, regular, everyday me and in media? Like, I don't, and I know there's some out there, I'm sure, but I can't recall a husband, father character just being in the way that Sir James was able to just be. Like, he had a suit of armor at the ready that he wore at that Midsummer Night's Dream party that they had. He was like, oh yeah, I go wear my suit of armor. What? Why do you have a suit of armor? Also, they're in the UK, so maybe that's just what people have over there. I don't know, but that was that. Venetia, apparently she had an eating disorder. They mentioned that, and the way that Elsbeth discussed her, I was like, this is criminal. This is not how you talk about your child. This is not how, like, I don't know. There was a lot of uncomfortable moments there, but she was very interesting. Clearly the rebel character, the going against the norm of what this high society family presents. She was very interesting. And then we had Farley, and Farley I think fell in line with this. Like, it was very clear that this world was new to Oliver and it was not new to Farley. And I make the distinction of Farley because he was the outsider. He was the cousin, the character who was not part of the nuclear family in Saltburn. But the way that he acted, you could tell that he was raised with these people. And he even mentioned at one point after he got put out, you're just visiting here for the summer. He says to Oliver, he said, this is my home. But all in all, I think it was a very diverse as far as personalities. I think everybody brought something to the table. There was never a character that I felt like, oh, this character could have been combined with this character. We didn't need such and such. I think with the cast we got, it was done well. So there were quite a few things that happened in the movie that had the audience, had us shocked. I know there was the drinking of the bathwater. There was the scene where Oliver watched Felix masturbate in the tub, and because they had this shared bathroom at Saltburn, because their rooms were like hotel suite room. Whatever, they were connected by the bathroom. And there was a moment where Oliver met Venetia outside. She was always outside at night, like in a robe or something. And he started playing with her sexually, with her sitting on a bench. She told him, don't do that, it's my time of the month. And he was like, he said something like, lucky for you, I'm a vampire. Excuse me? There was a lot going on in that scene that okay, let me take things back. So when Oliver is at school, he arrives, meets his little weird Ron Weasley character who is very intense, to establish a baseline of them being the losers, the ones who are not connected. Oliver quickly gets rid of him, not intentionally like seeking out to get rid of him, but once he got locked in with Felix and the rest of the wealthy kids, he chucked them to the side. There came a point where Oliver was reminded, or was brought up as he kind of eavesdropped, that he is not like everyone else. And it's like the women did not want to be bothered with him. They said because he buys his clothes like secondhand or some shit. I don't know, whatever. But it was interesting. A lot of these reveals like that to me didn't feel awkward. They felt like, okay, this could have possibly happened. You're at a school full of wealthy people who are just used to just being the center of attention, just existing. So there was a moment where I was like, what if they just turn around and see him there? But I was also like, wealthy or not, if you're locked into a conversation with somebody and you're walking, yeah, you'll observe your surroundings, but I could see that not being an issue, that they didn't turn and look directly at him. But he was very calm about a lot of the revelations that he consumed, absorbed, understood throughout the movie, which was like, I felt like there was something off about him, something very weird, or that he was a very peculiar person. He did have that terrible home life, and that was part of the bonding experience with Felix. And when Oliver got to be too much for Felix, Felix was like, look, bro, I'm good on you. I'll check you later. But one thing that stood out is that for all the wealth and access that Felix had, he was, I don't want to say cowardly, but he wasn't as assertive and strong as it seemed like he should have been because of all this wealth and access and power. Where Farley, to me, was the stronger of the characters in this movie. And when I say strong, not just like in depiction, but just in the continuity in the world of this movie, he was the one that felt like, to me, he's, like they say, stood on business about everything. Because I know that it's hard to have hard conversations with friends and family and whatnot, but for you to have this frustration with Oliver, it's almost like you could see that he intended to just ghost him instead of directly confronting the issue that he had with him. I was like, bro, what are you doing? So Oliver ends up finding out that his father died. He goes to Felix's room. They hadn't talked in a while. He's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know where to go, blah, whatever. They talk, they reconnect. And when the summer comes around, everybody's out of school, he goes back to Saltburn with them. And then that's when the weird stuff starts happening. Like this very eclectic family. The mom's friend Pamela is there. And Pamela was funny as hell to me. The whole movie was funny. I'm not going to hold you. I laughed a lot. Like this was my type of humor. I laughed throughout that entire movie. And I think I laughed at a lot of stuff that was not intended to be funny, but I was like, what? It's like you're watching this and it's like, am I being punked? What is happening here? Why am I the only one who sees the humor in this? So that's kind of what it felt like. With Venetia having her eating disorder that was discussed by her mom. Look at the mom talks so much, and I guess they were so used to just doing and saying whatever they wanted that everything that Oliver told Felix about his mom being a drunk and his dad being a drug addict and his head, busting his head on the pavement and all this other stuff was repeated back to us as as Oliver walked towards the den where everyone was watching TV. And she was speaking so loudly. I'm like, what the heck? It's so odd. So over the course of the movie, what happens is there starts to be this bit of a sabotage that, and I don't even know if I could call it sabotage or if it's just like game playing, because Oliver transforms from this kind of meek, sad character to this like shit starter, this instigator. And one of the things that kind of frustrates me with the movie is that it's to what end? Because he was doing, like with Venetia, he how do I keep this? He played inside of her when he said that vampire line, and then he put her blood in his mouth and put it in her mouth, and they did this whole like kind of sexual dance there. And that was very shocking, and it got its intended point across. But after that scene came and went, and we got the fallout of like Felix being upset. He's like, you're my friend, you came here for me, and you're here with her. And then Oliver's like, oh, well, who told you that? Oh, Farley saw y'all. He thought, well, Farley's lying. So he started like sowing these seeds of like lies and frustration and whatnot. But my thought was, what is this for? Like, what's the point? Because it's one thing to be like, okay, I'm this poor person, I need to attach myself to this rich guy, and that's going to boost my social status. But then be at his home, and if that's the intended result, you can just be at his home with him and experience all this wealth and access that he has. But to then go and like sleep with his sister and then lie about, like, that to me did not make sense. And I'm saying that as somebody who's seen the entire movie. So even at the end of the movie, that didn't make sense to me either. So, okay, no. That the thing he did made sense, but what did not make sense is like the reasoning. So the mom reveals about the eating disorder and stuff, and he uses that to kind of play into her, to put dominance over her. He's like, oh, you're gonna go and sit at the table, you're gonna sit there and eat, you're not gonna run to the bathroom and throw up and all this other stuff. Sure. But we didn't know, like, what if Farley didn't see them? And then there's nothing to go back and tell Felix. And like, essentially what I'm getting at is, though the movie was done well, some of the decisions that were made seemed like they were for shock value, because those decisions independently on their own were like, okay, what's this for? Even forget about them being on their own, without someone to observe those situations, they don't play into the larger story. Because spoiler alert, we find out that Oliver is the villain. He's the one who is going through all this work of getting these people, getting close to them and sabotaging them. But I was like, to what end? That made no sense to me. I was truly shocked. Like, it was a pretty movie, shot beautifully, great wardrobe, great music, just great all around. But like, what is the point? And that questioning of what is the point is what made the movie fall flat for me. Because one, rich people. I'm not in whatever tax bracket those UK wealthy folks are in, but and maybe this is part of the satirical nature of the movie, is like, oh, they're so self-absorbed and brushing things under the rug that they are allowed to be manipulated in this way. But I was like, for these wealthy people who are so attached to their money and their access and their privilege, how do you let this outsider come in and just kind of dupe you in the way that he did? So that, but I can suspend belief for that, because again, that's not my community, and I've seen that time and time again in other movies and whatnot. So that's neither here nor there. But ultimately, the goal for Oliver was to get Saltburn, but I don't understand why. So it comes out that Oliver's family is not this downtrodden, drug-addicted family that he portrayed them to be. Felix ends up answering Oliver's phone. Now, all of this is done off screen. We don't see this. He talks to Oliver's mom, and then he surprises him with a visit back home. And so the whole time they're driving, and Felix is like smiling, happy, supportive friend. Oliver is freaking out. Felix is like, I talked to your mom. She didn't sound drunk. She sounded she's cleaning up her act. You gotta talk to her. You gotta, so you gotta work this stuff out. So they go to the house, and the mom answers the door, and Oliver is shook the entire time. And she says, oh, your father's outside at the garden. And that's what went out. Before that, I figured that they were alive, but that's what I do. But the whole audience went up like, okay, what the fuck? Because we didn't expect that. Well, they didn't, but I did. And so you can see Felix reacting and trying to be polite, because the parents don't know about these lies. And it turns out that Oliver is from a pretty much middle-class family, very nice house. He has two sisters that he never discussed. Family looks like they make, pretty decent money. They're very well put together, very much what you see when you think of suburban people, be they in America or the UK. Beautiful, wealthy, beautiful, well-off family. And that made this a little bit more frustrating, not frustrating, I don't know. It was a little weird, not because you expect this to only happen with poor people who get a little bit of access, because I don't know what that says about you if that's what you think. But I think Emerald did a interesting job of turning that on its head, but did not go the extra mile. Because I don't care that he was middle class. Like that doesn't pull me out of the movie. But my frustration is, why is this what he's doing? You can't simply say, oh, he wants money. He comes from a decent background, and also money in and of itself never seemed to be the driving force for him. Like, he never said, oh, I'm at school to get a better life, to have all this money because I'm so poor. Like, that's implied because initially we thought he was from a poor, drug addicted family, but there was never a conversation like, I need this money, Frankie. Like, without this money, I'm gonna die and never amount to anything. Like, you're at Oxford. They mentioned that he was a scholarship kid, which I'm assuming that was true, but the money aspect never played a huge part. It was more or less the interactions with the wealthy. It was brushing shoulders with them, specifically Felix. So that kind of threw me. And then when everything was said and done, because essentially Oliver killed everybody in that family. But when all was said and done, and the end goal was Saltburn, like the actual estate, that did not make any sense. It just didn't connect with me. There's nothing within that summer that Oliver did or said that made me be like, oh, he really wants this place for himself. It just felt like I'm around this man who I love and his family, and I'm enjoying them, and I just want to eliminate the things that would stop me from being able to enjoy them. I always thought throughout the movie, it felt like it was the access to Felix and his family that was the end game, not Saltburn itself. Like, that was weird to me. And so if you watched it and read it that way, let me know, but it just didn't make any sense. So ultimately, he confronts Felix, because Felix, after they leave Oliver's parents' house, he's like, look, we're just gonna go back to the house. We're gonna let my mama throw this party for you, and then you're leaving. I don't want to have anything to do with you. You crazy? He's like, oh, you're not gonna tell your family, are you? He's like, hell no. As soon as Felix said that, I knew Oliver was gonna kill him. They mentioned quite a few times people jumping out of windows and off the top of buildings, and I assumed that Oliver was going to push Felix out of a window or something. But no, he just poisoned him. And so they found him the next day dead in this humongous labyrinth of a maze that's outside in Saltburn, which, why is this here? And the way that they reacted, like Elsbeth, she screamed, which alerted everybody to where to go, but then it was like, oh, it's time for lunch. And that's not something that I'm against in the movie, because I feel like it was very much them coping with the loss of the prodigal son. They were doting on him so much, they loved him. And so the kids, Farley and Venetia, were the ones who had visible reactions. But the parents, like the dad, still had this like jovial youthfulness to him, where he really did, the actor did a really good job at like committing to that character, because all of it felt real. Everything that they did felt real. But I was like, oh, this has to be a prison sentence that you're living in, that you can't even experience the full range of emotions after the death of your son. Like, you have to hold up this facade, and it's so second nature to you that you can't even grieve him properly. Oh, it was so sad. So one of the weirder parts of this, one of like the drinking bathwater scene, is when they buried Felix and Oliver cried on his grave. Everyone left. Of course, he was buried on Saltburn. Everybody left, and Oliver's on the ground holding on to the cross that would later be replaced with a tombstone, and on the earth, just holding on to it. And that was very emotional. And I was like, okay, no matter what's happened, because at this point we didn't know that he was the killer. It was like, I get this. And I like the way that they play with Felix and Oliver's relationships. And a lot of the relationships in the movie where the only person who was like explicitly labeled as gay or queer was Farley. But there was something with Felix and Oliver that was a bit more than platonic. And Oliver mentioned quite a few times how much he loved Felix. Now, that scene with him hugging the earth above Felix's casket got very interesting when he took his shirt off and took off his tie. And I was like, okay, this is a choice that I don't know that I would have made, even if I'm grieving for someone I love romantically. But I was like, okay, I'm with it. This is an artistic movie. It wasn't until he pulled off his pants and started having sex with the earth that was above Felix's grave that I was like, that is also a choice. Not only because you're doing this very unconventional thing, but you're also doing this when someone can just come find you. Like his family, yes, they're grieving, but who's to say they don't double back and want to just come see his grave again? And you are having relations with the earth 6 feet above where this boy is buried. So wild. This was a very wild movie. I'm not going to spoil a lot any more of the like weird, odd, kooky parts of it, because I feel like if this is a movie that I would love for someone to just see and then give me your thoughts. Like I may have to do a second installment of like discussing this movie with someone else because this is wild. So once it hits Amazon Prime, if it has already, or once they hit it, whenever this video goes up, I'm probably going to want to do another installment just to react with someone else. But so Oliver kills Felix, and then next Venetia goes, and then he gets rid of Farley. Now I've said before in previous podcasts and previous videos and things of that nature that when it comes to representation and diversity, you have to really be careful when you're not of a certain group and you portray them on screen in comic books and books and all of that, because you run the risk of doing something that may not even be intentional, but it's very harmful and problematic. And I feel like with Farley, they toed the line with that, but I will say that Farley was not murdered. And that's something that, though it is just base level stuff, I still appreciated that because they put him through a lot of shit, but did not kill him. So they just had him sent away because he did coke. And his issue was, why is Oliver here when he was Felix's friend and Felix is gone? Why are you still here? And Oliver hit him with you was the one doing coke when this boy died. And so I feel guilty too. And Sir James was like, you gotta go. You gotta go. This is the last time you're ever gonna be here. We don't want to have anything to do with you. It was intense. So he was going to put off the map. And then and I'm circling back to the end, to the whole Saltburn acquisition. One of the scenes that was a little kind of odd for me is Sir James, after everyone died and Elsbeth was kind of leaning on Oliver. She really liked him. It was clear. James asked him to leave. He was like, you got to leave so that we can properly grieve privately as a family. Oliver refused to leave. Sir James pulled out a checkbook and was like, how much? How much to get you to go? And they never established if he took the money. And on one hand, I want to assume that he did, because years later we see him in a coffee shop, hair a little different, like he's made up to look older, as if he had a pretty decent life. And so on the one hand, I want to say that he did, but then on the other hand, I'm like, if he was at Oxford, you're probably going to graduate and get a pretty good job. So I don't know if it's that he took money, and I feel like he did not take money, because once all of that happens and we get to present day, and Oliver talks with Elsbeth because she runs into him at a coffee shop, and she's like, oh, you look good, you've grown, or whatever. And that was one thing she said to him, oh, you've grown. And that was so heartbreaking, because she said it, and first thing came to mind with me was like, oh, you're grown, you're an adult now. My children did not get a chance to grow. Like, they're forever in her memory in 2007. They have not progressed because they're dead. Like, oh, that was heavy. But she said, oh, you're grown. And when him and her talked, she was like, oh, I want you to please forgive Sir James for how he treated you. And I was like, but how did he treat him? So a lot of stuff happened off camera that I feel like it should have happened on camera. Like, what are you talking about? He treated him nicely. The only quote unquote bad thing he did was offer him that money. And it's like, I don't know. So I'm going to assume he didn't take the money, I guess, because of the way she discussed him. But that makes it even more frustrating because we see in the paper that Sir James died. Then they get to talking, him and Elizabeth, and she invites him up to Saltburn, and you know they're together, and she signed over the deed to him and all this other stuff. But I'm like, it was never explicitly stated or even hinted at that Saltburn is what he wanted. And so when he tricked her into signing everything over to him, because I mean, she pretty much saw him as a son. Because we ended in 2007, we do the time jump, and let's just say we're in 2023, because I don't know, whatever. We are years after 2007. Were you playing the long game like that? Because let's say Sir James didn't die. Let's say Elizabeth died. Sir James don't like you, apparently, is how they put it. So you can't get Saltburn from him. And so let's say Elizabeth died and then Sir James. There's nobody to take Salt. Like, to me, it falls apart because this man did not actively go after Saltburn. It was not clear. So when they do the flashback, you see all the killings that he did. And I think it's even alluded to that maybe, well, no, I don't know. Maybe he killed Sir James, but I don't think so. Because I think Sir James died years later. So, but whatever. All in all, good movie. Beautiful movie. Great cinematography. Great use of music. Great overall. Like a pretty good movie. But this movie falls apart at the end. And it falls apart heavy. Because what is the point? You're already middle class. I understand wanting more. Who doesn't want more and to be wealthy and whatnot? That's fine. But you want more. And the more is Saltburn, and the only way to get it is to kill everybody? What? Why do you even want Saltburn? So you get it. I don't know, y'all. I feel like this makes the whole movie fall apart. Now, I'm still going to enjoy it as just what it is. This odd, kooky, weird, eat the rich or eat them and then become them sort of movie. But like, I truly don't get it. So if you've seen the movie and you understand or you perceived it a different way, like that ending specifically, let me know, because I truly can't get my head around why he wanted Saltburn, and if events happened any other way, he would not have had Saltburn. And that's important because with you not seeding in these thoughts and ideas that showed him actively going after Saltburn, where even if we didn't see it at first watch, when you do the little flashbacks and show him doing all the evil, devious stuff, you didn't even show a conversation of him like with his parents, like screaming at them before Oxford, fuck y'all, I want more than this. This is not enough. You settled in life. Like, there was nothing connecting the desire for Saltburn by Oliver to him obtaining Saltburn. And even when he killed Elizabeth, I was like, I really thought like she was the one out of everybody that he loved. He was like, no, I hate it all, y'all. It's like, what? Where did this come from? So again, I know I feel probably hypocritical or seem hypocritical saying this, but I did enjoy the movie. But I understand that this movie fell apart, and there were so many things that could have gone better decisions, different decisions. I'll say different, not better. Different decisions that could have been made. But I don't know. What do y'all think? Did you enjoy Saltburn? Is this something that you even had your eye on? You were like, oh, no, that ain't for me. Whatever the case may be, let me know. Put it in the comments and all that good stuff. So would I recommend this movie? I think if you are someone who is interested in dark academia, if you're someone who's interested in a wild ride, this was a wild ride. And I think that if you watch it, because I feel like even with all the stuff that I've said, it's still an enjoyable watch. I feel like you are still going to, because I didn't discuss everything, and there are a lot of things that may make some of this make more sense to you than it did to me. But I think this is an interesting movie. There was some nudity, wasn't a whole lot, but it was like a lot of booty cheeks. There was some frontal nudity with Oliver, and it wasn't a whole lot. If I have to put a number on it, I'd say maybe collectively 2 minutes. Maybe 3, just to be safe. About 3 minutes of front spread throughout the whole movie, not just in one scene. I'm just shaking his junk, nothing like that. I think Elsbeth and her dialogue was superb. I think Farley and Elsbeth were probably the best characters in this movie. They were very, he was snarky, conniving, and had a chip on his shoulder, and he made for good, snappy, sassy dialogue. For Elsbeth, she was like very fast. What can I compare this to? I don't know. I'm sure there's a sitcom out there, but her dialogue was very fast, very in your face, and very, very informative. I think she was the best out of all of the cast, with Farley coming in second. And I'll put Oliver at third because Felix was boring. He served his role, but he was boring. The butler was kind of like I don't know. He was a little different. All in all, decent movie. So again, I think I would recommend it, especially if you like that artsy, awkward, weird stuff. If you like any of the movies I listed prior to, I would say watch it. And if you like this weird type of stuff, I don't know that I would say this is a psychological thing. I'd say it's a very dark comedy. I'd say that. I don't know that this is psychological or anything, because again, that ending, weird, messed me up, and that's that. So this has been my review of this odd movie. If you watch it, come back to the comments and let me know your thoughts. If you don't, that's fine and good, but let me know what you thought about what I said today. So hit me up on the social medias at Twitter and TikTok, CarefreeBlackNerd, at IG and YouTube, CarefreeBlackNerd. And I don't know, man, stay carefree, stay nerdy, stay geeky. And if you find yourself connected with a extremely wealthy friend on college campus and you go home with them for the summer, just don't kill their family. Like, do us that small favor. Don't kill their family. Just enjoy the summer and take your butt back home. All right.
I don't wanna be crazy no more. Every time I think you're gonna walk out